This lesson is on MLA citations in 8th edition. MLA stands for Modern Language Association, and this is the format that you'll primarily use in English classes and humanities classes. This is usually the first formatting you learn in high school, though you'll learn others such as APA or Chicago for different classes, perhaps in high school and in college. When you're creating a citation, you will use a very specific order of information for online sources. This is the order that you will use: author, title of source, title of container, other contributors, version, number, publisher, publication date, location, second container, we'll talk about that in a minute, and then the URL. So how does this translate? Author, you'll put last name, comma, first name, period. The title of the source could be the article title or the title of the web page. The container is that larger item that contains your source. So a journal, a website, a book, a newspaper, those all have the smaller title sources in them. Sometimes you'll have other contributors, such as editors or translators. Version and number, those would be things like volumes and editions, and then the number that goes with it. Publisher, publication date or date last edited. Location would be page numbers. The second container most of the time will be a database. So if you use that Kansas State Library site that I showed you in a previous video, that would be a separate database, which is a second container. And then you'll need to include the URL or the DOI if it's a database that you found. So let's look at an example. Let's say we're on the Kansas State Library site. You've gone to Academic Search Premier. And by the way, this is where I pulled all of the psychology articles from. And this is my source I want to use: Endgame for ETA, Elusive Peace in the Basque Country. What's nice about using a database is they'll usually have all the information up front. So right here we have the author, we have the container, Nations and Nationalism is the journal that it's from, we have the date, we have a volume, 22, issue 2, page numbers, and then that DOI is what you put in place of a URL. And of course we have the title. So your job is to take this information and to put it in the right formatting. So let's go through it. The author, we're going to kind of toggle back and forth here. They already put it in the correct form that we need: McDade, comma, Sean. So it's last name, comma, first name. Okay, we've got our author, title of source. That's the article title. You always put that in quotation marks. Okay, the name of the article is Endgame for ETA, Elusive Peace in the Basque Country. Notice that there is a colon here. All right, so that means that you need to include that. You've got the title and the subtitle. You put your period inside the quotations. And notice that your punctuation is important. You put a period after the author and a period after the source. And I showed you that up here as well. Okay, then we have the container. Remember, this is the larger work that your smaller work is in. So the smaller article is Endgame for ETA, and that is included in the container, which is Nations and Nationalism. That will go in italics. Your containers go in italics. So if you just have a book, it is self-contained. So the source and the container are the same. So if you were doing this for a book, you would put your book title just in italics. Okay, so let's toggle back here. It looks like they give us the date, which is not the correct order for what we need. We want the volume and the issue and the page numbers first. So version correlates with the volume. Notice that it's abbreviated. The number is 2. These are all separated by commas. The publisher, which we do not have here. That may be a mistake. We'll need to go back and look at that. And then the publication date. So let's toggle back. Notice that they put the date information before the volume and the issue and the page number. Okay. Location, page numbers are here. You write them out in this form. And then the second container's title. Okay, our second container is the academic search premier. So if you think of this as like a filing system, right? Our most specific item that we looked at was the source title in Game for ETA, which we found in the publication Nations and Nationalism, and we found that information in the Academic Search Premier database. Okay, we put a comma after that, and then the URL, which if you're using a database, then you'll use the DOI. Okay, if you go through and just check all of these things, check your punctuation. If you don't have something, just skip it. If it doesn't have volumes or numbers with it, if it doesn't have version and numbers, then you just skip that item. Let's look at just a regular website without the database. So here's one from Psychology Today. And we're going to go through the same process. So what's the first thing we're going to look for? We need the author. Generally, that's going to be up at the top, and we have it right here, nice and prominently. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name. Maybe I will. Shayna Ali. You do not have to put the PhD and all the designations with it. And then, of course, you will want the title, which is usually very large and prominently displayed. Could you be addicted to technology? What other items do we see right away that we need? Here's the date it was posted, February 12th, 2018. This is the affiliation, Psychology Today. So how are we going to put that in any kind of order? We have the author's last name, Ali Shayna, period. Title of the source, which is our article, Could You Be Addicted to Technology? We put all of that in quotes. Since it already has a question mark, you do not have to use the period, but generally you'll put a period there. What's the container? What's the larger work that it's part of? Psychology Today. As far as we could tell, there were no other contributors, versions, or numbers because this is an online source. That's what I put here with this note. There is no version, number, or location because this is an online publication. If the information isn't available or applicable, just skip it and move on to the next item. We did have a publication date. The location is page numbers. We did not get this from a database, so there's no second container. And then we went ahead and put the URL. How did we get the Sussex publishers? Let's go back, because sometimes that can be tricky to find. So a lot of your information you can find at the top, but if you can't find everything, link to this, you will want to scroll to the bottom. And this is nice. It has an About the Author section, which shows her credentials. She's a PhD, so that's good. At the bottom, we'll see Psychology Today is the affiliation. And here we go. The publishers are at the bottom. Sussex Publishers are right there at the bottom. So that is how we do just a regular website. What I would like you to do is try this. I know you guys have done a works cited before, but I also know a lot of you use Citation Machine or Easy Bibs to do this, and I think it's good to be able to know how to do it just manually. So I want you to choose one of your resources that you've used for your research notes. I'd like you to type the citation in proper MLA format, or you can handwrite it. And I'd like you to go through and label each item, okay, just like I've labeled it here. And then you are going to turn this in through Google Classroom by Tuesday evening, 10 p.m. This is just a small point value, but I would like to see that you've done a practice of some sort. It doesn't matter if it's from a database or from a regular website. I would actually choose one that's maybe trickier for you that you're not really sure about so you can get my feedback on it. I did want to show you Citation Machine, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. Okay, and if you put the URL in there, let's see what it does. All right, so it has found the article. All right, so we're going to select it. Here's what we found. Okay, it has found the URL, the website title, publication day, month, and year, the access date, and then the article title. It says we could not find the publisher or sponsor, which is essentially, it's Psychology Today. So go to final step. This is when you want to be careful. Generally, when you're doing just a regular website, Citation Machine works well. If you're doing a database though, sometimes it does not format as well, which is why I wanted to show you how to do the database specifically. Let's go to Create Citation. Oh, well, I can tell you I don't want to view that. I've already looked at it. And it does actually give the correct citation in Citation Machine. Okay, so it's not that you can't use EasyBibs or Citation Machine, but it is your responsibility to make sure that you have all the information there in the correct order, in the correct formatting, because sometimes it will not be perfect. And that is it for formatting your online citations.